All right, David, we are here. We're doing it, brother.
Yes. Super excited. Self-coaching project podcast.
Let's go. This has
Yep.
been a while in the making.
Yeah, this podcast is something that I've been looking forward to. We've had lots of long conversations, often ending them by saying, "Man, we wish we recorded that. That was a good one. That was a good one." I mean, if I had a
Yeah.
nickel, man, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. And I know, as you were just mentioning, the amount of time that has gone into getting to the decision of us launching this and the work and the preparation we've been putting in for everything else surrounding the self-coaching project and the offers we're working on and the value we're looking to bring. This podcast feels like a really potent kind of culmination of a lot of that work that we've been putting in and coming from the desire to take things that we've learned in our lives, strategies that we've deployed, the health and transformation that we've experienced, and just wanting to share those stories and be able to see experiences like that take place for other people. And so it's going to be a fun ride as we start engaging in conversations and sharing frameworks and really trying to support real movement in the lives of anyone and everyone who effectively becomes part of this conversation and hopefully some level of community that develops out of it naturally as well.
Yeah, it's always interesting to have sort of your own insight or aha moment, light bulb moment, whatever you want to call it. And then immediately kind of be excited about sharing that. And what'll be really fun to me is figuring out how people interact with these ideas and concepts, what they want to challenge, what works, what doesn't. I know the values there. I know it's useful. I've seen just these different concepts and frameworks that sort of I've used in big ways and small ways, just in the day to day. And that's where frankly a lot of this is even more impactful. It's not the big decisions or big challenges that people might point to. Oftentimes it's all the in between moments where your mind, when not, I guess, intentionally observed and managed, can take you in a lot of different ways. And it's all that in between, the gray area where the stuff is really powerful. But again, just talking about it, hearing people's stories, seeing what worked for them, extracting sort of these nuggets of wisdom and bringing it back to simple frameworks and tools that hopefully everybody can adopt and see how they play out in their own lives.
Yeah. As I've kind of followed the stories of different leaders and individuals who've experienced varying levels of success, I'm always left a bit curious around what brought them to that point. I want to hear about the moments that they were in the room by themselves, tears coming down their face because of they don't know how they're going to make it through some particular season, or they get the call from that major client and everything that they'd worked for seems to have evaporated. And what did they have to do mentally and emotionally to refocus and recalibrate? And how did they overcome the stories that they didn't become the person they were overnight? And maybe they were given some form of challenging or disempowering stories from their own families and cultures that they came from, but they had to build something different to be able to bring into reality the life that they have now. And so I know that that's a shared desire between us, is diving into conversations with really incredible people to not just hear about some marketing strategy, which has its place, but I want to understand the mental models and the frameworks and the emotional tools, everything utilized to support, to effectively what provided the foundation to create the person who's able to make the things that they've made in their life.
Yeah. Everybody's got their own experience. And so what's really interesting to me too is I, like you, follow plenty of similar type of accounts in or platforms in the personal development niche. They have these guests on that have achieved some level of success, and you kind of go on a ride with them. right? Emotionally connecting to the story, being inspired by their ability to overcome things and just, yeah, you just go on a ride, right? And you leave, you get inspired and you leave feeling inspired and motivated. And maybe if it's something specific in business or health or whatever, and you go and do a little research and you know what to do, and you maybe have some inspiration and motivation from whatever podcasts you listened to most recently. But then when rubber meets the road and you have to start doing what's required and following this new routine or reaching out or sitting down and doing the work, or something just doesn't go as planned, something doesn't go in the same way that it did, the way you heard it play out for the individual that you were so inspired by not long before. That's those are the moments when we aren't able to follow through, when life punches back, and all of a sudden that motivation is all of a sudden nowhere to be found. And those are the moments where I'm really excited to dig in a little bit deeper, apply these ideas and concepts as if we were almost coaching them and teasing out really what their mindset was, what those sentences were, which of course are producing the ability to take the action or not. I mean, I think that those are pieces of wisdom that we'll be able to share, I think, in a kind of unique and different way, making their stories actually useful. And so, yeah, that's a bit of a gap, I think, and a frustration that I've had over time. Like, it's great to get inspired, and if I know the blueprint and the roadmap and how they did it, and I think I'm so smart, at times that changes, but
Right.
or varies. Then why can't I follow through? And getting curious about that has ultimately led me to wanting to share these ideas. I think there's a lot of additional wisdom to be extracted for our audience.
Yeah. And two elements that come to mind, the way that we intend on approaching these conversations is two ends of the spectrum. One side being first principles. Like, what are the actual values and principles that direct this individual's life, that help create the things that they have in the life that they, and then on the other side of the spectrum, what are the actual very specific actions they take, that whenever their schedule gets derailed in the middle of the day, here's the thing that they do. Or whenever they have some point of conflict in with a team member within their business, here is the model that they follow that's proven to actually build a culture within a company that's been effective at building something in alignment with their overall vision. And as a framing for how we're approaching the motivation behind this, I think of the scene from the old movie called The Edge, an old Anthony Hopkins movie, where they were out in this forest and this bear ends up honing in on coming after them. And effectively, spoiler alert, they have to take down the bear by the end of the movie. And there's a moment when they are trying to get themselves psyched up and ready to take on this challenge. And Anthony Hopkins says to one of the other guys in this group, he says, what one man can do, another man can do. And he's like, say it back to me. And they keep escalating and saying it louder until it's something
Mhm.
that they feel intensely and they're embodying that energy. And my hope and our hope through this podcasting and conversations that we have is that we take stories from people out there, people that we likely don't know on a deeply personal level, and being able to see that they did something that's compelling, that we would love to see take shape in our lives in our own way, and being able to hold the belief that, well, they did it. So that means it's possible. So how do I do that? And being able to, as you said, tease out those practical steps, tactics, and strategies that would make the realization of those same results effectively inevitable in our own stories.
Yeah, I love that scene. That was a fun one to watch. You shared it a while back, and yeah, it's true. I mean, at ju- at the base level, of just being a human, what aside from being 7 foot tall and being able to dunk, like what is holding us back most often is not these physical limitations or gifts or talents. It's an emotional risk and an emotional fear that is really guiding and directing what we are able to do. And that's just good to know, right? What one man can do, another man can do. And That's a bit of a different situation, right? Like they're in the wilderness fighting a bear, but metaphorically, we're dealing with things like that in our day to day, and it can feel like that. It can feel as scary and confronting or dangerous. Just internally, it can feel that scary at times. But it's like I said, just good to know that's a mismanaged mind that is running wild and producing that fear. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's optional. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. The more times that you've thought you've had a pattern of thinking, and it's become such an ingrained belief. Like if you've thought this way since you were a kid, that can be that can be a tough thing to reconcile. Like that doesn't seem optional, whatever a belief system is, but that's the very thing that is honestly showing up in the way that's holding you back, really. So I think it's empowering. It's encouraging to understand that what has held me back in the past is something that I can work on practicing and kind of being released from those chains and limitations, really. I think that's incredibly inspiring, honestly, to know. And I've seen it play out in big ways and mostly small ways for me. So I'm curious,
Yeah.
in getting into this work, since getting into it, is there anything you can point out in an example just in your day-to-day life, personal life, business, whatever, that you, instead of going one direction that you might have typically that maybe produce some less than ideal result, you had that awareness and you sort of took the other path at that fork in the road. You're like, no, hold on. Like, I know what's going on here. I know what the version of me that wasn't self-aware in this moment would have done, but now I get to consciously go the other way and kind of have more of a director's role in this, how this story plays out. Do you have any examples that come to mind? And I'm sure that that's some of what gets you excited as well. I know it is for me.
Yeah. One of the examples that's recurring for me is part of what kicked off much of my engagement in what has become self-coaching project and what we've created. And that came out of, I had a pretty intense season of depression that I had to navigate. And while also needing to continue caring for my family and building a business and things in that vein. And I would have experiences regularly and at one point daily where something would happen within my day that would throw me kind of off kilter, would get me out of any form of alignment or flow. And it would take my entire day. And I would literally retreat to my bed, to a dark room, just to feel like I, in a state of survival, needing to wait it out until I felt better another day. And obviously, the effects of that are pretty extreme. And being able to get a vision for different experience for how to navigate points of tension or a dysregulation of the nervous system, feeling out of control of my own experience. Now, through lots of intentional focused improvement and work and mental models and emotional regulation, now, even just this week, there was a day where that had the potential of going a direction that was far from supportive. And now there's like tools that I have that I leverage, right? And I'm able to hold in my mind that the emotional experience that I'm having, I will not always feel that way. And I have tools that I can leverage and utilize that can actually shift my emotional state, which then influences my thoughts. And then I can begin to act differently. And next thing you know, after a period of some specific actions, I'm back into a state of flow. And not only that, I now have pride associated with the process that I just navigate. And so that's been a practical example of my life that is an ongoing point of engagement for me. And where do you find intersection points in your own experience with that same question?
Yeah. So something that comes to mind, and it's one example, but it happens, I mean, several times a day now. And the example I'm thinking of is, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago, I was playing with my son, who's 4 years old, and he was explaining to me, we just had some construction trucks and things. He loves. We're in a new development neighborhood, so they're driving around all outside all the time. He just loves it. Runs to the window, has plenty of toys that he fiddles around with, and he was explaining to me the difference between a front loader and like what was the other one? I don't remember it. Some kind of special excavator or something like that. And I noticed that I was just feeling anxious out of really out of nowhere, and my mind was wandering, and it had gone on for a couple minutes, and it really kind of bothered me that I couldn't be here, present for this really sweet moment that was really kind of an opportunity to connect and just really enjoy it. And I sat with it and allowed that feeling instead of trying to avoid it. Whereas I might have, in other situations or other times that this has happened, pivoted to something to just to feel better, whether that be go and, I don't know, just engage with some other activity with him, go for a walk, and something that would really bring me out of that the opportunity to just enjoy with him. And I sat with it, and there was just some sort of anxiety and really thoughts around just something we were doing later that day that costed some money that I wasn't sure that we should or be spending at the time. And it was kind of a silly thing, but like that was running in the background and kind of taking me out of the moment, and just being present to that and observing that happening. That was an opportunity for me to sort of question whether that was true or valid or needing to be continuing to allow to direct and influence my experience with my son in that moment. And just in seeing it happening in the background, I got to sort of challenge that. And ultimately, it's dissipated really. Something that I wouldn't have normally not even noticed happening, I got to then observe and challenge and question the validity of the thoughts going in the background automatically. And it sort of just faded. And all of a sudden, the anxiousness went away, and I got the gift of being able to come back to the moment and enjoy the rest of the time there. And I can't tell you how in challenging times where, like, for instance, I was out of work for a few months, a year or two ago now, but those are really tough times, and that's stealing. And if I'm not conscious and careful of my mind running wild out of fear for those situations, I'm missing my life if I let that happen. There's still lots of reasons to be grateful um, and just be present now, and even in the midst of challenging times like that. But yeah, just having the awareness to really think and direct my kind of mental and emotional state was really powerful. That's just one example, and I think it happens many times a day, not always in that scenario, but in work and just being with family. It shows up all the time. And it's just another small example,
Yeah.
but it's really powerful. They just add up over time if you don't, I guess, take control a little bit, have some intentionality around this stuff.
Yeah. And that begins to touch on effectively what is the motivation here for us and why are we launching this podcast and the other work that we're doing. And I know that for me, it relates to what you were just sharing and how you had this experience that used to look like X. And because of a different frame, you were able to show up in your life and experience your life and give yourself to your family in a different way now than you were able to before. And that experience of having one frame of reality and one way of operating, and then crossing some threshold because of a different input, because you've got a picture of a different story, you felt something different in a moment that inspired a change in thinking that allows for your experience to become something different. That's the hope here, right? It's that through stories and through thoughtful and deep engagement with incredible individuals that we're able to help shine the light on different ways of being, where each of us can take what someone says in these conversations, take some principle from it or some action, and begin to actually see change in our lives. And I mean, even us doing this podcast, is enacting that. Like, I know for myself, I have felt for a long time that not only the desire, but even a call in my own soul to launch a podcast and to begin getting myself out into the world and sharing my experiences with others. And I didn't listen to that for a long time. And due to that, I had years of carrying this like level of shame internally, kind of behind the scenes. A lot of times I wasn't even aware of it, but I knew that I was not taking action in some way that I felt led to. And so us even taking the step and recording this episode is a movement in alignment. It's feeling a desire for a different experience of life with a different version of Anson showing up. And my hope is that through that process of me stepping into my highest expression, that could be a point of encouragement to someone else, to you, the listener, who potentially have feelings and desires around things you want to see made manifest in your life that at this moment, for whatever reason, whatever the stories are that are playing into it, you're not currently taking action. Dave and I's desire is that we are able to be a small part of you beginning to realize a different story, one that you feel proud of, and one that will ultimately inspire others as well. And so that this thing becomes a rippling conversation that actually moves its way out from this center point into impacting the lives of every person who joins us, their families, their communities, and that we can hopefully be part of inspiring just a good way of living.
Yeah, well said. The goal here truly is like we're going to have conversations solo with other individuals that are that in many domains, different domains of life and work that have had success. At the end of the day, it's making all of these ideas as simple and useful as possible. Too many times I've just been overwhelmed just by like being in a situation that I understand and realize that I'm not doing what I need to. I don't feel optimal to be able to do that thing. So the question at in the past had been, okay, how do I feel better so I can do what I know I need to? And just being overwhelmed by like, where do I go to be inspired in the right way? What video, what podcasts that I've saved? I almost had it organized by like, and when I'm feeling this way, or when I'm trying to work on this, go to this YouTube video or this episode or piece of content. But that wasn't the answer, honestly. Like that overwhelm and knowing where to go, what worked for, and it might even what worked for me a month ago might not work now. So like just being overwhelmed by like how to solve for how I was feeling, but really I'm excited for taking a lot of different ideas and making them boiling them down to first principles. And I guess what I mean by that is what we're calling the story model, which is a basic framework of human behavior. But the reality is that anything that anyone is going through and overcomes ultimately, we can see how this is playing out within this story model. And just to touch on it briefly, we'll be going deep in future episodes, obviously, but the fact that something is happening outside you, around you, even within you, is creating this interpretation and relationship and meaning or sentences in your head, which is producing how you're feeling, which is heavily influencing what you're able to take action on and how you're behaving and showing up, which is, of course, the intersection point. And that's where you interact with the world and then produce some outcome. So there's a circumstance, you're having a thought about it, it's producing an emotion, you're internally driving your actions and producing a new outcome. So I think it's a beautifully simple model. And the fact that I think we'll be able to relate a lot of different things to something so simple kind of eliminates a lot of noise and I guess confusion around personal development. So just one example and one thing that I'm really excited to be able to reframe and filter a lot of different ideas into something that people can take away. It,
Yeah.
that's the goal. Take away something that from these episodes and our content that is actually simple and useful. So lowering the barrier of entry to transformation, I think is our goal here.
100%. And to even bring some personal flair to the model you just shared, I just had my own experience in navigating that with intentionality today. As you and I are, this podcast is just part of what we're doing. We also are supporting leaders and entrepreneurs through courses that we're creating around how to effectively manage mental frameworks, emotional states, your time, things like that. And then also additionally, private coaching for those who really want to go deep and get support with implementation. And this morning, as I was working on recording, I was sitting down to record some course content, and I could feel the resistance coming up with actually beginning to take action there. And you could feel myself wanting to look for distractions. I found myself beginning to organize photos in my camera roll on my iPhone, which I definitely did not need to do at that moment, but my brain was looking for anything to do other than the thing I needed to do. And I paused for a moment and reflected on, okay, what is actually going on here? Why is there the resistance to doing this work? And getting curious about the story that's informing the feelings as you just described, was able to recognize that, oh, there is fear that what I'm working on will ultimately be valuable to other people, and that I would not be able to deliver to people who invest in courses with us the level of product that they deserve. And so there's this fear that's informing the resistance that was coming up against the actions I was trying to take. And being able to remind myself that the very fact that I care this much, the very fact that I'm sitting down to put in the effort and the time and the energy into creating something truly valuable, like that's the thing itself. Like the thing that I fear is actually just a story that is not grounded in reality because I'm taking action that directly defies the validity of that story.
Nice.
And so that ability to get into our own processes, into the stories that are informing our feelings and our actions, it's going to become central to, it is central to all the work that we do, and is going to be a grounding and center point for the conversations that we have as we seek to understand how did these other people develop stories that help create the life that they now have.
It's really cool. I love that. That's a perfect example. And as you're practiced in this and you've gotten reps, and that's how quickly it can happen. It doesn't have to, like, there's some stickier stuff that you go deeper on and get more curious and uncovering kind of what's going on. And at times it's more challenging to sort of invalidate like you sort of did in a moment. Sometimes it's trickier to invalidate something that you believe so strongly because of it's just been that pattern's been run so many times, but it's possible. But again, it's in these small moments in little ways that, like, yeah, you could have gone a different direction and maybe you started to, but you caught yourself. The more we can catch ourselves in every single day and see the narrative, the sentences that are dancing around in our heads that we normally wouldn't be aware of, the more times we can do that, the more we stay on track. And that's the goal here. So yeah, really cool
Yeah.
example.
So as we move forward from here, what to anticipate for those that are going to join us. So our intention is to be releasing episodes each week. And as mentioned earlier, those will be a combination of conversations and interviews, as well as some episodes where we're talking more strategy and trying to provide really actionable information. And then outside of there, we also do have our courses and coaching that we're doing, but we will here soon be having a community launching online where those that find resonance with the conversations and the dialogue that we have, they will be able to actually pull at that thread a little bit more and engage one-on-one with us, as well as with other individuals who have alignment in their values and with their intentions. And so be on the lookout for that. We will definitely be providing each of you with information as that stuff becomes available. And all of this is in service of really supporting and equipping leaders and becoming the conscious architects of their stories. And what we mean by that is first taking the word leader, and that not necessarily meaning someone who's out in front guiding a bunch of people, but an individual who's taking full responsibility and ownership over the direction and guidance of their story. And then the second part is actually the creation of the stories and the experiences that they want to constitute their life. And they do so consciously, and they become an architect, the actual, as you mentioned, the writer, director, producer of the film that is their life. And so everything we do is going to be in support of that. And that will take shape, as I mentioned, through the communities, through courses, through this podcast. And I know that I am filled with a lot of gratitude to even be here at this moment, to have already heard stories from other people who found value and have experienced transformation because of some component of what we're sharing, bringing value to them. And so I am incredibly excited to see where this goes. And I know that there's going to be some extraordinary stories that come out of everything that we do here.
Yeah, absolutely. The community is going to be really fun. I can't wait to encourage people to confront things and try to show up in a way that maybe they've attempted in the past and couldn't follow through, or maybe even didn't even see as a possibility for them. Just in big ways and small ways, try pushing up against their own limitations because they have this new kind of awareness that just because they've always gotten the same goals and lived the same lifestyle and habits and routines in the past doesn't mean that has to continue. And by way of our tools and frameworks, I really look forward to seeing all of the little awarenesses in their day. Like I caught myself and this is how I pivoted out of it. That's going to be incredibly rewarding and exciting. And I think that that's just that community where that's happening regularly will be further evidence that this kind of stuff works. And yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to facilitate and get to be a part of.
Hell yeah. So to everyone, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time. We don't take that lightly. We know that you could be doing 100 other things, and you're here joining in this conversation, and we appreciate you. And for those who have made it all the way through, we do have a little something for you. If you made it this far, and if you're able to go on and rate this podcast and actually share this with a few people, and you take a screenshot and you shoot that over to us, we have a tool that we've created that is the very thing that we utilize in our own life. And we've prepared it in a way that is instructional and you can implement immediately. And so all you have to do is rate the show, screenshot that you shared it, send that over to us. And we've got a little gift for you that will hopefully support this process of you creating the life that you want. And I guess from here, we look forward to catching you on the next episode. David, I enjoyed the time with you today, brother.
Great conversation as always. And it's nice to finally have hit record on it.
Absolutely.
Episode 1.
All right, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you.